Hey guys, it's Cleo. I'm back. I have struggled to figure out which is the correct save because I had to go back and replay half an hour. We are now going for the stillness ending. Breaking news. For honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I was going for in water, and I realized that's an incredibly depressing ending to end the playthrough on. So I went back to an old save of my first run, did the last two boss fights, got in water. That means I have the prerequisite to get stillness. Went all the way back to the beginning and speed ran the game all the way back to Brookhaven Hospital. We are now going for an expansion of the in-water ending. That's my favorite, honestly. And it's really, really good. It builds on the one we were going to get. And I'll post that with some discussion separately on the channel in water. So now, there's also a note I really wanted y'all to see that Ian got on his stillness run, and I'll be able to show it to you this time. But rather than start in the reception area, I want to run us back here. Because in the 2 months that OBS has been jerking me around, and I also had COVID, we have discovered and figured out a bunch of new information. It's very exciting. So the first thing I figured out was American Association of Blood, something covered up with a blotch. And in the last video I said, why is this here? I don't understand. And so I started thinking about that to the logical endpoint of, why would it be here? Why would you have something about blood in a psychiatrist's office? I don't know either, James. So I asked myself that. And then I thought, where else have we heard anything about blood in this game? In the original game, Mary's illness is kind of hinted to be involved with her skin and her lungs. In this game, the drug names on the green pharmacy receipt in the Saul Street Apartments complex. One Redditor figured out that the names are very similar to drugs used to treat blood cancer. I think this is something James saw on the wall in a doctor's office where he took Mary to initially get diagnosed, to, get her first to discuss treatment, these medications, before she actually went into the hospital full-time, hospice maybe. And I think that heart blotch, I think it takes the shape of a heart to signify that this was when they were still, you can't really say a happy couple, but he was still supportive of her. And she had not yet really launched into, she'll say in a letter later that she was so angry and she lashed out at everyone. And I think that heart signifies that this was before that time when they had this rupture in their marriage. And I have just realized that in my excitement to get started, I'm so caffeinated. I can smell color and see time. It's great. I didn't give you the spoiler or content warning. If you can't tell, I'm going to tell you everything. Every single thing that happens in this game, I will tell you up front. Except the one thing James can't remember. Even if you've guessed what it is. I want us to fully find that out when he does. In terms of content warnings, I will give those more specifically as we get to these areas. But basically, bloody nurse combat, you've seen it before. Some weaponized vomit from the vomit monsters. We got a pipe, we got a handgun. Do we have the shotgun at this point? Maybe? The basic premise of the game, Mary's terminal illness, being discussed a lot. Suicidal ideation for a lot of characters, discussed a lot. James implied alcohol abuse. We're going to see posters referring to that all over again. This is a lot of environmental storytelling. We're going to see evidence of a completed suicide. We're not going to see it happen. There's a lot of suicidal ideation to discuss that these unseen patients had. A lot of hospital horror, mental asylum horror, some really disturbing, outdated medical practices, electroshock, lobotomy. We're going to see historical pictures of that. I'm looking through my notes. Some swarms of insects. I'll remember to warn those. I won't warn them. I'll warn you. I'll warn you about them. If at all possible. I actually don't think we're going to have a whole lot of fighting in this one. It's mostly me giving you 600 hours of Silent Hill facts. However, we are going to finish this video off, so help me, with the flesh lip. I will talk more about the flesh lip right before we get there. It's worse than it sounds. However, I have fought it enough now that I'm fairly good at it. And then I'm going to embarrass us by being terrible at it. Okay, so let us look at the patient documents that were laid out here. They were in order of patients that correlate to Angela, Eddie, and James. And let me hit the mic with my hand. That's great. I think they are listed in order of youngest to oldest. Angela is about 19. Eddie is somewhere in his 20s. Canonically, James is 29 in the original game. They cast an actor who is older. I have a whole post about this on the side blog. I have the Beneath the Null Moon, put a hyphen between each word, Beneath the Null Moon on Tumblr. Luke Roberts is somewhere in his mid to late 40s. He's my age. And they were initially going to cast James or show him as being 20 years older to go with the time loop idea of the game. You have been here for 2 decades. And there's actually a teaser trailer for the game with the older James, and all the fans flipped the fuck out and they went, okay, reverse that. So technically, if James does seem more mature in some ways, it is because he does have an older actor playing him. I think he's fantastic, but there is a difference between him and the original James, just in terms of portrayal. And I think the reason these patients are arranged chronologically is because each one also corresponds to a medical treatment. James is the oldest. His patient gets the oldest procedure, electroshock. Yes, electroshock, which existed before lobotomies that came into use a little bit after that, not even all that long after that. And that's what the Eddie correlated patient has. And then the youngest one, the Angela patient, has the newest treatment, which is antipsychotics, pills, based on when Thorazine came into use in the 50s. So I think that is actually why we have patient 50, and then patient 90 being Eddie, and then patient 130 being Angela is the youngest. So let's get back in here and read what I picked up before, because I figured out why they say what they say. Okay. So Angela, the youngest, was first on the table. And I read this out before. Nothing on the back. Let me give you the text on screen. There we go. So the important element of this document: initial symptoms, intense and unrelenting anxiety. And I think that corresponds to not the first time we met Angela, that was in the cemetery, but the first time she really demonstrated having some problems when James found her with the knife. And she said, Could you hold on to this for me? I'm afraid what I might do with it. And then she grabs it back from him. He comes to take it from her, and she brandishes it at him. She panics. She seems like she thinks she needs to defend herself. I think she's afraid to give up her only means of self-defense. And it says, into full-blown paranoia. I think that's the paranoia, as well as the anxiety that would cause that. So then we have visual hallucinations. We haven't seen this yet, but several hours from now, we're going to end up in Rosewater Park again at night. And James is going to run into Angela there. And he's going to say something like, have you seen a little girl? And he's talking about Laura. The mention of a little girl, I think, triggers Angela in a genuine sense of triggering somebody. And she, I think, thinks of herself as a little girl. And kind of, she's in a different reality there for a moment. She sees somebody kind of behind and to the side of James and starts talking. We can see nobody's there. She starts talking to this, whatever she's seeing. You shouldn't be here. I think this may be the first time she sees her father present in Silent Hill. It could also be her brother, who we don't hear a whole lot about. I think it may be her father. And you can tell from her eye line, she is not looking at James. She is much shorter than him. You can tell she's looking past him. And then she runs away. So I think that's the first major hallucination we see her have, certainly. And then the recommendation is increased medication. In the other world, we're going to see her patient associated with a puzzle that involves pills. So let's look at, I wonder if there's a way to just go back a level and not have to pull this all the way back. Okay. So now, this is the patient who represents Eddie. Initial symptoms, sensory delusions. Current diagnosis, insomnia. Refuses food and water. Delusions persist. Okay, I may have said this in the previous video. I think the reason Eddie, someone who overeats, is associated with a patient who refuses to eat is simply because in a lockdown psychiatric hospital, you don't have the opportunity to overeat, to go steal food, or you don't have that. So they had to just kind of give it an ironic twist so that you would at least be able to say, okay, it's food. This must be the Eddie patient. I get it. We do see him eating a lot, bathing. We see that he's not to play into a fat phobic stereotype, but we do see him in this filthy shirt. He wipes his hands. He eats ice cream straight out of the tub with his hands and wipes his hands on his shirt. You can kind of see how that's a lack of cleanliness. It also says sensory delusions. There is a scene later on where James will walk in on Eddie haranguing this dead body. And it looks like James.
Couldn't leave well enough alone, huh? You just had to follow me all the way out here. How many times do I have to kill you?
Eddie? Whoa, Eddie, it's me.
Oh. Hi, James.
Eddie, what are you doing?
What's it look like I'm doing?
It's a room full of dead bodies that look like James. They aren't wearing his clothes. which indicates to me that Eddie is not imagining James. He may be imagining the football player he shot in the knee but didn't kill, didn't finish him off. And because James can't see into Eddie's mind, he can only put in a default person himself. He can't imagine what this person looks like, apparently. And Eddie is haranguing this dead body, saying, how many times do I have to kill you? I think those are the delusions they're talking about, or it correlates to them. It does mention sleep medication. I don't have any kind of correlation for that. I have not seen anything involving Eddie that involves sleep or not sleep, or maybe there's something mentioned in the novelization. I'll have to go through that. He's so bored. James, honey, I'm sorry. We're getting to you. We're getting to your diagnosis. Everything has to be about you. Okay. Patient 50. Initial symptoms. Sudden outbursts of aggression, which would fit what we're not going to talk about. Visual and auditory hallucinations, which would fit this entire game, where the Silent Hill around him may not be real. It may not be the real town, but even whether it is or isn't, his Silent Hill looks and sounds different from Eddie's, from Angela's. Whatever monsters or manifestations they're seeing, they're each seeing something different. So in that sense, you could say they're all having hallucinations. Current diagnosis. This is where I pull up something to read to you. And I'm so glad we're not watching James sit there and fidget. Bless his heart. Current therapy is considered effective. What therapy was that? Someone on Reddit, and I will link to this, found documents hidden in the game files that you don't ever actually see or pick up or find. And you can see the images. I've linked to them rather than just completely run off with them. There's a case number 14635. I don't know if this is meant to be patient number 50 or it's a completely separate patient. It does seem very James. 2 entries. November 17th. The patient is responding well to the new therapy. It's actually astonishing how quickly he took to the surrogate. He's completely engrossed himself in the scenario. November 21st. Sometimes I wonder, is it wrong to fight a delusion with another delusion? The daughter, whose death he blames himself for? The daughter he never had? So I give her to him. He seems happy. Perhaps that's all that matters. Okay, so this raises so many questions. So many questions. Not even trying to connect this to James specifically. I do think it's interesting that Laura is sort of a potential daughter figure. And they did say a daughter instead of a wife. And we're going to see something later in the prison, a puzzle involving gallows. And there's also an answer in the puzzle involves a father and a daughter. And maybe this is partly to not make it so obvious that it's James, a wife, But you immediately have to ask yourself, what surrogate are we talking about? Did they give him some young child to play pretend? Did they give him a large doll? Like, what is happening here? And I don't think they ever specify what this means. I don't want to spoil Shutter Island, but it might be something. There's sort of a, can you accept your responsibility? And if you can't, do you do you want to give in and have a medical treatment that will help you not ever have to think about it again? It's really, I haven't read the book, but it's a really interesting movie. Again, this, and I have the text of this on Beneath the Null Moon, so you can actually see it. It's just such a disturbing, and I'm sure that's why they don't give us specifics, so they don't have to work out how that would work. But you do wonder when it says current therapy is considered effective. Are they referring to this daughter surrogate therapy? I don't know, but it's super interesting that somebody found those image files in the game. I don't know if the devs intended to do something more with them, or they're just a really deeply hidden Easter egg. I don't know. But under current diagnosis, it also says unprovoked outbursts declined, social interactions improved, and all of this is struck out. What did I miss? I love that comment. And then recommendations. Continue with the current therapy. We don't know what that was. Daughter, I don't know. Different patient, who knows? Water has a calming effect, struck out. It used to. So what did we do in the last video? I'm genuinely trying to remember. We went to the swimming pool and we got this patient's ID bracelet, right? And so there's the whole thing about how there was an incident where he freaked out, patient 50, freaked out, tried to run away into the garden, which takes you through a small greenhouse. He seems to have broken some glass and accidentally cut himself and nearly bled out. That seems to be what they mean by it used to have a calming effect. This has been amended after that incident. Okay, so I think that is what I really wanted to talk about in here. Okay, we're going to pull up the map, our blessed map. Where's the room I want us to go to? I think I want us to go to M2. I keep showing you these paintings, right? And I missed the most important element of all. Don't get up. Okay. She actually gets up. I've already recorded a version of this commentary once, and the whole thing was just bad. The sound volume, the volume balance was off. A lot of things just weren't good, didn't work. Sweetie. No! Where is it? Where is it? Are you in here? Okay, that's the Louise puzzle. Oh no, can I not find it? Oh, this is so upsetting. No. Is it M5, maybe? I'm going to be so upset if I don't have this. Quick turn, sweetie. Is it in here? No. If I can't find it, please, please. Jackpot, all right, here we go. And I said, oh, this is a painting about the Northern Lights. That's great. You know what I ignored? This little painting print right here. And it's Goya's Disasters of War print. This hospital was built in the colonial era and then destroyed, rebuilt, or abandoned, rebuilt during the Civil War. So this is referring to the history of the hospital. However, I found a bunch of Goyas. And I ended up writing a post called Why I Can't Be Normal about Goyas in Silent Hill 2. And you'll remember the first one I found was the Plague Hospital. in the barber shop, which foreshadows the history of the plague in the hospital and in the prison that we'll be seeing notes about. So this is the second one we had found. And to read to you what I wrote, I'm referring to an article about the meanings of a particular print at the Prado website, the Museo del Prado. What I told Ian in an email initially was, using this artist brings a whole background subtext of madness, plague, war, horror, and hiding any of his works in plain sight hints that there is a horror beneath the fog world James isn't seeing yet, much like those manic Woodside notes that suggest the other world lies beneath everything. So I showed you a painting last time of 2 rabbits in the kitchen to be butchered. That's a Goya. The 2 rabbits look perfectly normal and realistic in this very normal looking kitchen, but it's a Goya. We're going to come back to that kitchen and we're going to see what it really looks like. The way that the hotel at the end of the game is actually burnt down. I told you I'd tell you everything. And so I was discussing a print called The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters. And you can see this on the blog post. And it's a man who's fallen asleep at a desk where there's all these monsters and bats flying around behind him. And it's a very famous print. If you're into any kind of gothic imagery, art, writing at all, you will probably recognize it on sight. And that's my favorite Goya. The Sleep of Reason, at the time I wrote this, didn't appear in the game. And I said, however, I think deep down, it sums up the entire game. James's refusal to admit the truth has produced monsters, roughly 393 of them, based on my first run stats. But more importantly, figuratively, a spiral into anxiety, anger, and alcoholism produced one very specific monster, and we're playing him. You reference an artist this many times, and in parentheses I said, maybe even more that I haven't found yet, and you are evoking a vision of horror, disease, disillusionment, and, as this article at the Prado wrote, what lies behind the, quote, reversal of the day in, quote, the battle between light and shadow. I'm not sure which one wins. I guess it depends on your ending. But every time I find a Goya hidden in the game, I feel like we're being reminded that the battle is there. So this is the second Goya I found, right? Don't shoot it. Don't shoot it. That's valuable, James. Okay, so now, how do we get downstairs from here? What's the quickest way to get downstairs? Well, I'm pointed in the right direction. So last time, I made James go down an opening between the walls and nearly get stuck. And that took us out through medical records. And I got interrupted in there by a mannequin that busted in. And so I didn't really look around much further than that. Oh, we're gonna have to find some fucking nurses. Okay. Y'all just chill. Y'all just stay chill. If I recall, medical records spat us out around here. Is this it? Okay. You stay chill too. The Sleep of Reason produces monsters. When I was replaying this on a stillness run to get us all the way back here, I found it. It's almost like I predicted it would have to be somewhere in the game, I guess. It's actually, you should have seen my fucking face when I just happened to see this. Like, that was an incredible moment, honestly. Just to be like, this is my favorite Goya, and guess what? I actually did find it. Radiator check. We're still looking for a broken radiator somewhere. We didn't find it here. Okay, but this is Sleep of Reason. And again, the interesting thing about this print is that it could mean two different things. Either when you set reason aside, produces the monsters of fantasy, of irrationality. But this may have also been Goya critiquing the Enlightenment at that point. And rationality carried too far could create monsters. But I think in this case, it does more refer to James not being able to admit the truth. He's living in a world of nightmares, fantasies. I'm looking for something, sorry. Okay, it was this way. And once he comes out of this partial amnesia back to a world of reality, the monsters are, I mean, this is actually going to happen. The monsters are going to withdraw and kind of crawl away and die. His distractions will be gone. Okay, so this whole time, of course, this whole time I have been misreading the Araxium poster. In very, very tiny letters above "in control," you can see anger, and then under that, fear. For some reason, I have been thinking this was a medication for anxiety, which I guess in some ways it is. The one next to it, Alvarium, is specifically for anxiety. And I posted on the side blog an old ad for Thorazine, one of the first drugs of this type. And it's got a giant eyeball, and it's black and white, and it's got a tiny little man, you know, raising his fist like he's going to fight this eye. And I think that's where the design of this poster, both these posters, I think that's where this comes from. It's a little more alarming and a little less unintentionally funny. But when I found that ad, I just went, okay, I see where we got this from. So I think Alvarium for anxiety may have been what I don't know that they were giving Angela this. They were probably giving her the Angela patient. They were probably just giving her Thorazine. But I think that's what this poster is correlating to. And there was a point where I said of a different poster, I swear I thought this was about anger management. I think it's this one, because I had heard somebody talk about it. I think it's this one, anger and fear. And I think Mary had both. I was so angry, she said, and was afraid of dying. And I think James was anxious, afraid of her dying, and had outbursts of anger once he kind of slipped into alcoholism. So in that sense, I think this poster does represent both of them. I kept saying, I think there's a poster that represents both of them having anger issues. And I think it's this one. I think that's it. I'm not entirely... Okay, I think saying I'm not entirely crazy is maybe a little inappropriate in this situation, but I'm not confabulating it entirely. Okay, so where do we want to go from here? We may want to go to the kitchen so I can show you one more thing. Have we been in here? Oh, thank God. Okay. Don't do it. When I realized I had saved over the save I wanted, I had to go through the kitchen all the fuck over again. Oh my God. Don't you move either. This is a Goya. I don't know why I assumed they had created this painting for the game. Maybe because it was so on point to have two rabbits when Laura draws herself and Mary as rabbits. But no, it's actually a Goya. It's a still life. And I forget the exact name of the painting, but it's literally like two rabbits ready to be... Let me see if I have that here. Oh, I definitely need to remember to show you something else. It's a Goya still life. I found that before I found the Sleep of Reason, but again, I'm emailing Ian like, it's a fucking Goya. It's a fucking Goya. Oh my God. So then I said, I don't know what this one is. Is it like a goose or something? It's probably a fucking Goya. It's a Goya. I'm shouting. Okay. It's a turkey. It's a still life of a turkey ready to be butchered. Do you get on Tumblr and do you watch videos of the chocolate guy? We call him the chocolate guy, Amaury Guichon. And he makes these sculptures out of chocolate. Like, he weaves a basket out of chocolate. He made a working bicycle with a bike chain out of chocolate. He just makes the most insane, fully sized, workable items out of... It's crazy. And it's to the point where everybody just goes, he can't be stopped. Look at him. I can't believe it. He's, it's that sense of like, I'm so impressed that I'm angry. How dare you? How dare you be so good at all of this artistic art history symbolism? How dare you? Bloober? I'm so impressed that they got all of this past me. Okay, I forgot. So when I got to this commentary, I've already recorded it once, and I got to something I wanted to show you, and I went, I forgot. Shit. Food aids mental health. Yes. High fiber fruits and vegetables. Whole grain foods. Healthy fats, including omega-3. No. Highly processed snack foods. Highly refined grains. Red meat. I think this is here to connect the Eddie corresponding patient to Eddie. One of them isn't eating enough. One of them is eating too much, but is definitely not eating fruits and vegetables and healthy fats. He's out here eating pizza and ice cream barehanded. So I'll never get over that. And I forgot. I had seen it before and I forgot to stop here and look at it. Let's see. Where do we want to go now? I know. Wait, let's look at the map. Oh. We have such a runaround. Okay, I want to take us back to the doctor's lounge. There's one more thing I want to show you. I know this is like, Cleo, you're just running us around, just talking about stuff on the walls. But like, listen, why else am I here? If not to tell you all the little secrets and Easter eggs and... Oh, don't even. Okay, so there's a clipboard in here, right? Okay. Put this up on screen for you. And at the time I said, I don't know what patient this is. At first I thought, okay, this case bears a disturbing similarity. It's not about a patient we're talking about, but one of those patients bears a resemblance to this one. And at first I sat here and thought, okay, so this is James. Then I thought a little more, and I think, I'm about to read it again. I think that you can infer that it applies to all three of the patients, perhaps, in some ways. And in some ways, they're telling us, they're giving us a framework for what might have happened with them. So what it actually says is, and I'll go ahead and tell you, avolition is a lack of will, no will to do anything. Anhedonia is a lack of pleasure. When you're depressed and you no longer find enjoyment in anything you used to love to do, that's anhedonia. This case bears a disturbing similarity to a situation that took place in the facility a few years back. The patient was admitted on a court order, but with the consent of his remaining family. His condition appeared to be improving for the first few weeks. The administered medications, paired with individual sessions with a psychologist and art therapy, alleviated his avolition, anhedonia, and social withdrawal. There was no reason for concern. They didn't even know anything was wrong until the night guard reported one of his keys was missing. When they found him, it was already too late. Okay, so let's close read this a little bit. The words remaining family finally stuck out to me. What do you mean remaining? Did this patient kill someone in his family? Remaining family is who approved admitting him to this hospital. Okay, so his condition appeared to be improving. Medication, art therapy. Art therapy is a very gentle treatment for somebody who killed someone, but okay, we'll go with it. There was no reason for concern. They didn't even know anything was wrong until the night guard reported one of his keys was missing. Which key was it? Because there is a key we are going to have to find in order to get out of this hospital. They lock the front door. Is it possible that this patient slipped out and got out into town? And that's what the Brookhaven article in the garage is referring to. Okay, so the article we found in the garage, the secret garage, back in the video where we were tooling around with Maria for a while. The layoffs we reported on last month are continuing. Over 10 people have been let go, which has reduced the hospital staff by more than half. If the situation does not improve, staff shortages will put patients at risk. We may have had lax security. More and more have made their voices heard of how the presence of a psychiatric hospital in the middle of town has had a negative impact on the local community. Residents fear that an incident from 2 years ago might repeat itself. This may be the incident they were talking about. If this patient got out into the town, we don't know what happened there. Did they injure somebody, kill somebody? We have potentially a precedent that they killed somebody in their family, might have committed some act of violence again. We don't know. When they found him, it was already too late to stop him from doing something. However, this could also mean patient got a key, went into a room with a mirror, broke it into shards. We're going to find a patient room that suggests this is how one of the patients completed a suicide without leaving the hospital and without hurting anybody else. It could mean that. And I think this clipboard, this document being so vague, allows us to look at these three patients and say, okay, we have the framework of they were each admitted to this hospital after some catastrophic incident that they may have done. I mean, in real life, we know that Angela killed her father. This would her remaining family. So, and again, to be clear, James, Eddie, and Angela are not these three patients. We're talking about sort of Jungian dreamlike figures that maybe James is projecting. This may be based on what he knows of these two people. This may not, what the impressions he's gotten of them throughout the scenes they've had together so far. We don't know to what extent any of this is real. If his mind has just made up all of these documents, we're in a state of ambiguity here. I like that. That's fine. But the ambiguity of this document may be giving us the tools to come up with these interpretations that each of these patients had some catastrophic incident, was doing pretty well in treatment. When people weren't concerned anymore, maybe attention was a little bit lax, maybe due to staffing shortages. They got away with the key, whether that was into another room in the hospital, got out of the hospital. When they found them, whatever they did, it was too late. Dun, dun, dun. So that's why I wanted to revisit this document, because I do think it certainly relates to patient 50 corresponding to James. Without actually telling you anything, just looking at what's in front of us. Why would a patient representing James, and perhaps the patient who blames himself for his daughter's death, perhaps also that case, why would we be shown something about someone who killed a family member? And why would we be shown something about somebody who might kill in the future? Because I'll go ahead and tell you, I think I have before, the Maria ending implies that Maria may get sick and he may kill her. James, our actual James. And that's one of the reasons I felt like this document in particular really connects with James and or the secret file patient with the daughter issues, because he blames himself for his daughter's death, the daughter he never had. What? Like, I don't know what that, did he kill her? Are we talking about a surrogate daughter figure like Laura? Which, by the way, James is not going to hurt Laura in any way. That's never going to happen. Someone who was not actually his daughter, but he viewed as one. I don't think we're talking about like a pregnancy type, pregnancy that didn't come to fruition daughter. I never had. I literally don't know. I truly don't know. It's weird use of the word literally. I'm very sorry. Why am I hitting that? Resume. Okay. So what we found in this room as well. That's all a very, again, what I love about this game, and again, I'm very caffeinated and I'm very sorry about that, is that they give you the tools to come up with all these interpretations. They give you the tools to come up with all of these interpretations. Some of the ones I like directly exclude each other, and I like them anyway. And I love the ambiguity they've left in both Team Silent and Bloober Team. That, you know, I won't give you any Silent Hill F spoilers. I have watched 3 different people play the game all the way through. And I think that game has been written more with the intent of, we're going to give you clues and you can put them together and figure out what they mean. Whereas I think this game is more, we're going to give you tools to come up with a lot of things, but we're not ever going to put answers in here for you to figure out. There's no answers to find. Whereas I think in Silent Hill F, there may be actual answers to find. I have bought the game and I am going to play it. Just about the hot second I have nailed this commentary down, because if OBS will cooperate, this video gets priority. And then whatever I can get OBS to do after that, I'm going to record my first Silent Hill F run just to see if anything interesting happens. And then I'm going to post a full commentary. And it won't be as researched. It won't be researched as deeply as this, because I don't have the background in Japanese language and culture. I just don't. It needs to be somebody who has that to do that deep a dive. But I'm going to go for the quote good ending. Again, much like Stillness, so we're not left on just a complete bummer. And apparently the game is very different after your first run. On New Game Plus, there's a lot of additions. It is actually worth seeing somebody play it a second time. So, doing it a little more briskly, while prioritizing Silent Hill 2 because we're already doing it, I do want to start playing Silent Hill F as soon as I have this nailed down. Okay, so what I was going to show you is... Okay, what are we looking for? Memos. I'm a bear of very little brain. We picked this memo up here. It shows us the code without giving the numbers. They said, be responsible, people. Whoever this was, they followed the letter of the law. They did not write down the numbers, in fairness. This is the pattern of keys you're going to hit to get into the nurse's station upstairs. Where do we go from here, James? Can we get out from here? Yeah, but at what cost? Okay, I think we're going to want to go out the way we came in and then get to the stairs. I have been putting some clips from my discarded commentary 8 on the channel, mostly just fighting that was interesting. That's fantastic. I'm glad I checked because that's not the right direction. Okay. That isn't either. I know where we are. Okay. Again, without any spoilers, what I'm going to tell you about Silent Hill F is that the combat looks like a fucking nightmare. I'm never going to complain about anything in this game ever again. Silent Hill 2. Never. I will never complain about it. I look forward to the flesh lip with joy in my heart because at least it doesn't have a stun lock system. You just get in there and fight. God bless. Sweetie, where are we going? We're going to the nurse's station. Okay. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you going to get up? Are you going to get up? No? Okay. Okay, that's where a note was pinned up, taped up. Here we go. If they get up and start coming around behind me, I'm going to shit kittens. Here we go. All right. Here we go, buddy. Let's get in. Certificate of accreditation. There's the blood thing again. Like, it makes you wonder how much of what we're seeing is something James saw somewhere. Like, I don't know. I do want us to pay more attention than I did the first time we came in. Oh, wait. I keep forgetting there's things to pick up. My God. I want us to pay more attention to everything on the walls than I did last time I was in here. Because I actually think this poster is a direct reference to the thing I don't want to talk about. Anything with hands, just know that's James. Whoa, okay, sorry. I was going to warn you about the insects. I'm very sorry. I didn't realize it was that room yet. Yeah, I don't like them. I don't like it. You may remember, I always reblog this around Halloween. I wrote kind of an essay about growing up in a haunted house. And I didn't realize it was haunted at the time. Only in retrospect. And I didn't notice because I was too busy dealing with all the wildlife infesting the house. Squirrels bowling with acorns up in the attic, and creepy crawly, roaches coming in from the woods. And I mean, I loved that house. I loved it so much, but I don't appreciate beetles and roaches. I don't. I really don't. I really hate this note. I hate it so much. The patient correlating to Eddie, 0, 90, 0. 0, 0, 90. The Eddie patient is having some really severe experiences in terms of the diagnosis document saying, sensory hallucinations. In a literal sense, this is what they're talking about. Not just correlating to Eddie seeing these corpses. And it talks about how painful and disgusting eating is for him, and how disgusting and discomforting bathing is for him. If this sounds like something you don't want to hear about, you can just skip through it till this is not on screen anymore. I hate it. It's my least favorite anything in the entire game. I absolutely hate it. Okay. They feed me garbage and rotting meat, crawling with maggots, thick with sinew. They make me bite down. The juices, red and yellow, hit the back of my throat. I choke and I gag and I vomit till my throat is sore. An aching, throbbing tube of flesh. I push it all out, but I can still taste it. No, flip it. It's just in case we hadn't had enough yet. They bathe me in filth and blood and piss and bile. They gently rub human waste all over my body. My skin itches. It peels off like wet paper. I beg them to stop, but they don't listen. And then they lock me up with him. He's always there, closer each time. And the rot, it comes with him. It goes within. It becomes me. Now, Ian's theory about this that I like a lot is that the him is not a Pyramid Head type boogeyman. It is actually the director. And this is how these very disturbed patients perceive the director. Someone who is not treating them terribly well in his obsession to cure them at any cost. And they're afraid of him. And he is constantly observing them, sitting there, standing there, unnerving them. And I think it's really interesting because, I saw an article, I have MSN in my Windows toolbar, whether I like it or not. And MSN serves me a lot of video game listicles, the 10 best this, the 10 best, 10 worst that. And because I'm trying to build up a Steam library, anything I can find on deep discount, I actually don't mind the whole 10 best horror games released on a Tuesday that are Souls-likes, because then I can kind of go, oh, wait, okay, I keep seeing this one game. That looks really good. I'll add that to my wish list. But I also saw one that was like 10 tropes we wish we wouldn't see in games anymore. And one of them was mental health issues handled badly. And they actually cited Silent Hill 2. And I don't know if they were just thinking anything with a mental hospital needs to go. And this was inspired by Jacob's Ladder. And I haven't seen it in a good 30 years. It's been a really long time. But from the scenes I put on the playlist for the commentaries, they do very much have these mental patients in the background, scaring the Tim Robbins character, jumping around like rabid zoo animals. It's, the patient as a figure of horror rather than hospital mistreatment as horror. And I do think Silent Hill 2 subverts that. I can't tell you if the original game does this. I don't know that it does. This game certainly, this remake, subverts the idea that the patients are monsters or figures of horror. Oh, be so scared of the psychopaths, the crazy people. And says these are people with genuine problems who are genuinely suffering. And it's the director, the doctor in charge of them, who is himself rather unstable mentally and is mistreating them. And let's look at some of the medical treatments they used, the first half of the 20th century and mid-century, that have been discredited as cruel and not even effective in a lot of cases. And let's look at what these patients, and many patients like them, suffered. And it does still have a bit of a horrifying veneer to it. Hospital horror, ooh, scary. But I do think, as Ian points out, when you turn the director into the monster instead of the patients, it makes a really interesting statement that subverts the hospital horror trope. And I have to tell you, I am bipolar. I'm very thoroughly treated. Let's get this off screen. I'm very well treated. I have been for 20 years. I have a therapist. I have very finely tuned cocktail of medications. People who meet me and I say I'm bipolar, they're shocked. They have no idea. They would have never guessed that someone who has a pretty even keel. Yeah, I yell at some nurses now and then. I yell at some monsters, but I'm a little caffeinated today, but sure. I'm very even keeled. And being bipolar can be really rough. Bipolar depression can be very severe. You can have psychosis when you're manic. I never have. I've got my ups and downs balanced well enough with one of the medications I take that I don't have that. And I'll talk about medications and the difficulty of sorting those out when we get to a later point in this video. I can't speak for everybody with mental illness, or mental health issues, as I like to refer to it. But certainly for me, as someone who is bipolar, I wasn't offended or I wasn't uncomfortable with anything in the hospital section. I do think it's really well done, the way the remake kind of flips the idea of, the scary mental patients, and says, no, they are the ones who are really suffering under mistreatment, which really happened in actual mental asylums and psychiatric hospitals, as we will see with these historical pictures of the treatments. This really did happen. And it's kind of, it really gives you pause when you sit there and think, if I'd been born 100 years ago, which treatment would they have given me? How would they have diagnosed me? And what would have happened? And that's a heavy thing to consider. But I personally, as someone who would have ended up in this hospital, probably would have been given electroshock is my guess. I felt like this was fairly respectful, while also giving us a really creepy setting, a lot of horror, some classic hospital horror. But it was also respectful. And I won't say Jacob's Ladder wasn't respectful, because I haven't sat and watched it in such a long time. I won't say that I'm personally offended by that movie. However, I do think that the game has improved on the inspiration in that sense. So we're going to turn around. There's going to be a ton of insects. Be warned. I know, you're bored. it finally occurred to me, and maybe because Ian pointed it out, the reason we have swarms of insects is to point us towards something. Like, hey, look at this. Which didn't occur to me because normally I would be like, get the fuck away. I don't want to be anywhere near them. And it's like, no, they're there for a reason. Okay, also, so there's 3 tubs here. And when I initially played this game, I thought, oh, okay. The empty one represents James because he's the one standing in front of us. It represents patient 50, James. He's not in there. And also, yeah, it's just really... You don't know what's in those tubs, you know? You don't know. And then I realized, no, this represents the patient who hates bathing. He's not in the tub. That's who it represents. Sweetie, we gotta go forward. Here's a moldy radiograph. Shoot him. Shoot all of them. Shoot all of them. You try that. Honey, we better have gotten that mold remover. My throat hurts at this point from talking. Wait, what? What are we doing? What? No, what are we doing? Okay, I think we go upstairs. See, the thing is, because I had to redo half an hour. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. Okay. I was about to say, I don't remember what we're doing, but I do. Okay. So this is the Mary rabbit, as Laura draws her. And this is the scary, angry bird that's chasing her. And it's like Laura has intuited that Mary has a reason to... I don't think Mary feared James, but she will write in her letter, I'm afraid that you hate me. And it may be that she had more to fear than she knew. And Laura somehow intuited this. Or the way James sees monsters and Laura doesn't. Laura could be drawing any number of things, but James's brain is showing him things that express his guilt. He feels bad. Maybe Laura drew 2 bunnies, or she drew a bunny and a bluebird. Like, we don't know. Maybe that's not what she actually drew, but this is what he's seeing. Here's what I really want to show you. Okay. Let's look at that again real quick. Get a look at the tail of the bird. Look, really get that. Really get that in your head. Oh, good, we have mold remover. I was like, dear God, don't make me go downstairs for that. Strange photos. I figured out what this means. It's the tail of the bird. Look at it. I'm so caffeinated. Look at it. Look at the tail of the bird in the corner. That's what it is, her drawings. It distracted me to look at this M drawn out in bullet holes. And I went, Mary's? What? Huh? It's Laura's drawings, the bird tail. And I think the M for Mary in bullet holes is a way of saying Laura is correct to intuit that there's some aggression there towards Mary. Her drawings, Laura's drawings, she's correct. And you'll remember that on patient 50's diagnosis sheet, it did say sudden outburst of aggression. Again, there's things I don't want to tell you, but if it's right in front of us, it's there. So I was so proud when I finally figured that out. I was just sitting there looking at it, and I was like, what the fuck is that in the corner? I know what that is. I've spent so much time in Brookhaven Hospital. God help us. Okay. Here we go. What do we want to save? I'm trying to keep some saves open in case I need to go back for some reason. That's September, okay. this is how long it's been. I think the last time I recorded something was August the 1st. I'm not going to bore you with all my tribulations, but like, I had COVID for a month. I already had long COVID. I got a refresh. Today we had some leak in the furnace and had a guy come over and spend 3 hours fixing it. And I just finally said, I'm going to record this commentary. If it kills me, I don't care. So I come to you through great tribulation. Okay, so we've already talked to Laura. We've already had her run away, right? I think I even had in the previous video my explanation of why I think James is actually really good with Laura. Okay, this is a room we're going to go through. You can see, come here. You got it. You can see a little first aid kit there with a syringe in it for us. We're going to go there right before the boss fight. That's how you know we're going to get fucked up. Okay. Fighting the fleshlet is going to be like a fucking spa day after what I saw happen in Silent Hill F. Okay, so I've been in here. There you go. It's just, I will never complain about anything ever again. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see. Where are we going? Just, it makes you grateful to be alive, honestly. Okay, so this is really the floor where we're going to see things about patient 0130. Let's see. I may have shown this to you before, but it's patient 90. That's who it is. But we want to look at this again for the context I'm about to show you. Day 1, patient transferred for observation, malnourished, shallow breathing, avoids eye contact. Agitated in presence of staff, frantic, the notion of touch. This could correlate to Eddie being bullied and maybe being very sensitive around other people, being afraid that they're going to be the next to bully him, my guess. Day 2, patient refuses solid food. Think back to that pantry poster, eating healthy foods. We're not doing that. Nasogastric forced feeding required. Serotonin antagonist administered to reduce nausea and vomiting. You remember the first time we met Eddie, he was throwing up his entire life and several previous ones into that toilet. Day 3, patient restrained for bathing and feeding. Prepare the treatment room accordingly. Progressing malnourishment. Oxygen deficiency. Self-injury suspected. Could not confirm. So we have set here on the table the idea that this patient may be self-harming. Here we go. Day 4. Something is very wrong. And this employee has been interrupted by some kind of emergency that made them get up mid-sentence and run off to do something. And I think we're going to find out what that was. Is there anything in here to pick up? Like, again, I think I read that to you already, but I didn't have that context at the time. Let's see. We got... Okay. I was like, who the fuck was that? Do we have an x-ray room up here? Okay. We do. Turn around. I was like, I know we're up here for a reason. Okay. What we got here? Something I picked up, probably. What are we doing? I think this loops. You know, speaking of loops, Bloober Team loves their looping designs. They did not do Silent Hill F. Their current game is one called Chronos: The New Dawn. It's their original property. I've also watched that one. It looks really good. It looks hard as fuck. But I really want to play that. I might try to get it for Christmas or something. It's one of those games where I look at it and I go, I don't know that I'm a skilled enough gamer to play this. And then I thought, by the time you finished it, you would be. Like, I can't ever do anything the easy way. While we're here, another game coming out. Right now, Bloober Team is working on the Silent Hill 1 remake. I am so hyped for that. Another developer entirely is working on Silent Hill Townfall. I think originally the studio was called No Code. I think they've renamed themselves to Screenburn. It turns out they did, several years ago, the game Stories Untold. By total coincidence, a few weeks ago, I happened to watch an old playthrough of that. I was going through my playlist on YouTube of just things I meant to watch. And it was really, really interesting. And it actually reminded me of Silent Hill 2 in the moment. And I remember thinking, this is a totally different gameplay mechanic. It starts off as an old school text adventure game. And I remember thinking at the time, this reminds me a lot of Silent Hill 2. And it turns out these are the developers who are doing Townfall. And I had already bought it on a whim. There was a deep discount for like $2. So I actually have this game. And once I can, get some of these priorities out of the way and play shorter games, I will play Stories Untold for us so that we can see what the Townfall developers have done. If they made a Silent Hill game in that style, and they'll probably do something a little more sophisticated here years on, that could be so interesting. So I want to play Chronos, which has nothing to do with Silent Hill, and I'm going to play Silent Hill F. God help us all. The combat is just really something else. It's very complicated. The inventory system is complicated. Strangely enough, Chronos is very similar, just even harder. So that's why I'm going to play that second. Okay, so we have In Control, Fear, Anger. That's one of the reasons I was so bent on recording this, because I needed to get this done before I record something else. But I want to play. I want to play Silent Hill F. Ian has finished it. Ian's on his second run. Okay, so this poster all the way over to the left, don't let alcohol shatter your life. This is the implied alcohol abuse I mentioned up front. Oh, now I can't read what the brain thing says. Guide to proper hygiene, the thing with the hands again. And the first time we met James in the restroom, he's washing his face and his hands, staring at his hands. I mean, I think that's... Okay, revolutionary method for treating neurosis. Given that his corresponding patient is going to end up with electroshock, I think that's there for a reason. Okay, so here we go. I used to have trouble with this puzzle. I think because it's way too complex if you put everything on the board at once. Let's go to the inventory first. Is this a key item we want? Yeah. Remember last time when I tried to combine from, like, don't shoot it. When I tried to combine from, like, this window and this tab and couldn't figure out how to fish out a key. Remember that? Yeah. Okay, so we have two other x-rays we're going to put on the board. It's a lot easier to figure this out if you leave them off and everything is a little more clear. How do we rotate? No? Okay. Come on, rotate Q. Okay. So see, we're lining it up with, and it also says skull trauma, but we're lining these partial lines up. Okay. So, no, you're good. Okay. Is this one, do we rotate this one? No. Honey, we got this. Okay. Notice that I've got to be talking to myself at this point when I say honey, because we're not talking to James. Inventory. Y'all, this has been some hard talking for like an hour and a half now. I told you this wasn't going to be much fighting. I'm genuinely getting hoarse. Come on, we got this. No, do it that way. Bink. See, there you go. Inventory. Okay. Let's see. No. Remember, I'm on a keyboard. That does make things a little fiddly. I'm not using a controller. Okay. 4, 37, 12. Ta-da! That's right, honey. You write that down. Is there anything on this table we need? I don't think so. We picked it up. We're good. I hope I've got enough brain power to fight the flesh lip after all of this. Okay, so I guess we killed everything on this floor. I don't even get to warm up. Did we say 4:37:12? What did you write down? Yeah. I still think it's so cute that he writes all this stuff down for us. Because on Hinako's map in Silent Hill F, no. No, none of that. No. Okay. 4. I absolutely loved... Did I just mess that up? Okay. I loved the story of Silent Hill F. But some of the gameplay, I just have huge... Okay, I see what I need to do. I have huge reservations about how some of that's supposed to work in the game. I was trying to hit accept after each number, and that's not what you do. I don't know. It took me several hours of watching other people play it to really commit to, yeah, I want to take a crack at this. Again, I'm not going to spoil you, but about 3/4 of the way through the game, there's a cutscene at Hinako's house that's incredible. Just like as a psychological drama, it's just incredible. And I went, okay, I have to play this. It's going to be worth it. I'm pausing out here because we're about to hit some more insects. We're about to hit what happened to patient 90. It's going to be very gross. I'm interpreting it as a completed suicide. We are not sure. But we're going to talk about that. So brace yourself. Let me look on the wall real quick. No? Okay. Wonderful. Ugh. Okay. The first time I recorded this, I compared these remains to a scene in the Blair Witch Project where, I mean, spoilers for a 26-year-old movie, but Heather finds a bundle delivered to their camp, and one of the guys she's traveling with, or she's, one of her camera people, has disappeared, and she finds a bundle of something, and I think it was hair and teeth. But when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. What is this? This glistening massive. What is this? And so this reminds me a lot of that, in that you look at this and you go, what the fuck? Like, I know it's the patient's remains. I get that. But, like, why are they translucent? Is this, like, shrimp? A rib cage? What are we looking at? I'll have a picture of this blown up for you. If you look very closely, you can't see my finger pointing. If you look closely, you can see something with a sharp corner. If you look closely, I think that's a mirror shard. It's kind of reflective. Kind of at the center. Okay, see the shadow of the flashlight center? Right there. See? And it was only the last time I played this, and I tried to get a screenshot of it to look closer, and I went, I think this patient got hold of a mirror shard, broke a mirror, maybe got a guard's key. The guard didn't miss it until it was too late, and managed to self-harm. And I don't think literally this patient was left to decay in the bed, but in terms of this sort of being a dreamscape, I think that's what's going on here. And this may have been, discovering what had happened may have been what interrupted that patient, that employee at the typewriter. Something's very wrong. Somebody had run in and said, we've got a problem. You got to come see this. So at least we have an interpretation for that. Before that, I was just left here going, why are there translucent shrimp in this bed? I don't know. And also added the interpretation that maybe it's as if the insects consumed the body. And that's why there's so little left of it. Someone who wouldn't eat was consumed. A patient correlating to a person who eats too much was consumed. But let's see. We are going downstairs now. We have the last bracelet. We need to go to the director's office. I am going to figure out how to get there without checking the map. Just for personal enrichment. Just to be fancy. I'm so proud of figuring this out. I'm sure somebody on Reddit has figured out all the strange photos. But I want to do it myself. And I'm so proud of figuring that out. Also kind of sad we don't have anything to fight. Okay. You can get up if you want. Maybe? No? Okay. I don't think I've given you the whole spiel about nurses' uniforms. I went and did a bunch of research on this. And again, I'll post this in the write-up, the full links and quotes and such. But well, that's just not dignified at all. Can we get a look at this? I don't think we want to. No. No. Okay. My sister was born in the mid-'80s. And I remember going to the hospital. I remember my mom being there. And my mom remembers this. The nurses at the time were wearing scrubs. And my question was, if Mary was in the hospital in 1983, 4, 5, 6, passed away maybe in 1986, based on what Masahiro Ito had said years ago, was James seeing nurses in cute little dresses, or was he seeing nurses in scrubs and the cute little dresses were more sort of a stereotype? Yeah, you. More of like a Party City costume stereotype that, kind of got in his head. Was he actually thinking weird stuff about Nurse Sandra RN, or was she actually there in scrubs, making up a name? And I'm trying to defend this guy and be like, no, they were in scrubs by then. What I read, I went on Quora and I found several nurses, past and current, saying they did not switch to scrubs until early, mid, even late 90s. It varied by region. Some of them were still wearing these starched, bleached white, dresses. They would have them washed at the hospital There was even something where one nurse was saying they would take the button covers off so that they wouldn't get, mangled in the washing machine, pulled off. And they would be industrially washed to make sure that they were sterilized. And that nurses in areas were still wearing them through the 90s. I tried to defend you, James. There were areas where we hadn't moved scrubs yet. I was living in a scrub area. Like, I'm trying to do the best for you that I can. But it was actually really interesting. And I did find an article, I think by a company that makes scrubs, titanscrubs.com, that was saying that scrubs were phased in because as surgical science improved, people needed to have sterile outfits. I can't think of the word. I've been here too long. They needed sterile clothing. As you had more surgery, longer surgery, more invasive surgery, you needed to not have dresses and hose and caps. You need to actually have hairnets and scrubs and trousers, and everybody wearing that. And as trousers became more acceptable for women in the 60s and 70s, that influenced the shift to scrubs. And it was just, I shouldn't have been surprised. It was a regional variation kind of thing. It happened in some areas and not others. I tried, James. I really did. I can't defend you, buddy. I try. However, we did see that sexy nurse costume at the strip club. I mean, it could have been something. Who was that? It could have been more of a sexy costume kind of idea. He wasn't literally creeping on nurses. Maybe. I'm trying, buddy. Okay. Obviously, I have done this several times. I can't pretend I don't know how to do this. The way I remember it is biggest number, lowest number, middle number. That's how it goes. Am I too tired to fight the fleshlight? Do I need to do this? Here we go. So we're selecting you. Go down. You're the middle number. Okay. Bloodstained bracelet. Rotate it. Wait. Okay. You're the highest number. Okay. E. Okay. There's so much left to talk about. We're not even anywhere near done. Okay. I asked Ian if the sun on this keychain related in any way to the halo of the sun with the order. And as he kept pointing out, the halo of the sun doesn't actually look like a sun. And I said, okay, it's not that. And then maybe the last time I was playing this, I thought, wait, a sun with angel wings. We've talked about how Mary is represented by the sun, Maria trying to step in front of the sun, the guiding light, the sun mural behind the jukebox. And then after the Born From a Wish DLC came out for the original game, they started referring to the main game as a letter from silent heaven. So there's this idea that Mary is in some kind of heaven, angel wings. This must represent Mary, I think. And this key is going to get us to another key that takes us to the rooftop, that takes us to a document that I think describes Mary, or a patient who corresponds to Mary. I think that's what the meaning of this key is. Okay. Okay. First time I recorded this, I went back and forth all the rooms over and over. Oh no, we have so much more to talk about. I enjoy it, but at the same time, There's so much more. I have at least doled out some of this information to you already. Okay. It's very easy to not even bother looking at this. But what we're seeing here are the 3 puzzles in the Otherworld, the next section, already laid out for us. They're already showing us all of it. So this first one is James, patient 50. And I'll cut away for a moment. This is where I'm going to show you some fairly upsetting medical photos. Nothing gory, but I'm going to show you some electroshock and some lobotomy diagrams, photos. They're not great. I personally hate them. I don't like them. And I think, as I said the first time I recorded this is one of those really awkward moments, talking about Silent Hill, where you sit here and you go, this is so cool. But also it's really disturbing and upsetting, and I'm very sorry about that. What makes it cool is that they're showing us everything in advance. It's all right here if you actually stop to look at it. And they show you images from the actual game. It's so cool. The subject matter is upsetting. It's, we contain multitudes. Okay. So I'm going to point the flashlight and kind of bring it down. We can kind of see headgear in diagrams. Where I have the center of the flashlight right now, that's the photo we have seen throughout the hospital that Google refused to pull up for me. I think because it is an electroshock setup. And I don't know why. That was just too offensive for them to pull up, but sure. So here in the middle of the board, these are actually pictures from the game itself. There's a stretcher standing up, and that's the electroshock, table. And the generator is a little bit up, the picture to the right. We're going to have to turn on the generator, and the electroshock setup will come to life, and we'll have some numbers burned into that board, and that's our clue to a lock we have to open. So then we have this one, the Eddie patient, a little bit later, slightly later in medical history. Wonderful transorbital lobotomy diagram. Transorbital meaning like through the eye socket. Colloquially called ice pick lobotomies. I hate it. I have a thing about eye injury, ickiness. I don't like it. I can't put contacts in my eyes. I'm so sensitive about that. Hate it. There we have the photo, you see kind of right there. I don't think it actually has anything to do with the lobotomy, but it's that photo from the French hospital in the Rue Puccini that I showed you. Now here kind of at the bottom, you see the tools, the hammer, the mallet, and the orbitoclast, which means, to break. If you're familiar with the word iconoclast, class to break. And then the chair at the very bottom, that is actually in the game. That is actually something we will find in the game, and that is the puzzle. It's more of a fetch quest, actually, but that's actually the first thing we're going to hit when we get to the Otherworld. And in the original version of this commentary, I actually went ahead and played half an hour into that area, and I actually finished this whole thing. And I've decided for this time, we don't need to go that long. It's fine. So here we have the Angela patient, and as you can see, about a third of the way down, maybe almost halfway down, that's one of the tents in the game that we poked around. It might be the first one we found. And then we have bottles of pills, and then we have another photograph that may be nurses handing out pills to, looks like maybe children or seated patients, I'm not sure. We have seen that throughout the hospital. It was a photo I said I couldn't get a good image search of because it was at a weird angle in the corner. It's that one. So we have these puzzles. The patient 0130 is going to involve counting pills in a sink. So we have all of this. Let's back up. We have all of this laid out for us, what it means, why it's there, who it refers to. And I didn't even see this until I had played this area multiple times. Okay, so here on the wall, the note we're going to find for the stillness ending relevant to the James patient. It involves a cardiectomy. I'll let you figure out what that word must mean. Heart, and so I think that's why there's a diagram of a heart here. But there's also a diagram of a brain. Pretty sure that's a brain. What are we looking at? And there is electroshock involved with this patient, so I think that's why those diagrams are there. Okay, this puzzle really isn't that bad. I kind of have to stop and think about it. Also, it's easy to mess up what you're trying to click on. Ta-da! Okay. So now, what we have here are alchemical symbols corresponding to numbers when we try to put that code in. And so, this is embarrassing. Ian knew what these symbols were because he said he was really into astronomy. I knew what these symbols were because I was really into the lore of astrology. I do not read horoscopes, okay? I do not go around and diagnose people with like a bad case of Capricorn, okay? I enjoy all of the sort of fantasy level lore of astrology, and it came in clutch here, didn't it? Because I knew what everything was. But while we're here, Maria has a black bead bracelet. Oh my God, I almost forgot something about Maria. Okay, no, I'm good. We're fine. She has a black bead bracelet, and it has a black crescent moon on it, a bead. And I don't know that we've gotten a good look at it so far, and we will later. And the new moon, the dark crescent moon, is also called the null moon. Beneath the null moon is the name of the music we hear when she first appears on that pier. It's why I named the side block that. However, when I got a closer look at the bracelet, took a screenshot of it from later in the game, I noticed it's actually a crescent kind of on a plus sign or cross underneath. And I went, I know what that is. That's the black moon Lilith symbol in astrology. I know what that is. And we've already seen references to Lilith in this game. And I have an article I saved from The Cut. And it's Meet Black Moon Lilith, an elusive astrological placement. It's a theoretical placement. It's basically the dark side of the moon, calculated from this, that, and the other. Associated with deep desires, sexual liberation, and the extraordinary power of claiming, or perhaps more apt, reclaiming your identity. Which is so perfect for Maria. That's amazing. So, I finally figured that out in the time between recording the original version of this and today. Very excited that I figured that out. So now, let's go put this into practice. You wrote that down for us? Let's see. I'm so hoarse. And there's more to talk about. Do we want to save this? Yeah. Sure. Okay. This is I was so busy telling you about Maria that I didn't tell you what all the symbols meant, did I? Well, we'll get to them here. It's fine. No. This is just the most nightmarish interface ever. Okay, so we have these symbols up top, right? The first one is Jupiter. Then we have Venus, looks like a hand mirror. Then we have Saturn. Then we have the moon. Then we have the sun. Then we have the Philosopher's Stone, vitriol, Mercury, and Mars. And in alchemy, it's Jupiter is tin, copper, lead, silver, gold, the Philosopher's Stone. Vitriol not being a planet, being a substance. Mercury is mercury, and then Mars is iron. So, James, sweetie, let's look at your map. Okay, so he's written down the order they appear in. Oh, no, my notes. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to be real with you. I have this written down. As much as I've been through, I think that's fair. We're going to reset that. Okay. So the first one, Philosopher's Stone. Then we have lead. See, I'm doing this with the words written down, and I'm having to remember which symbol represents which. I think that's fair. Iron. Please don't hit the wrong key. Gold. That's the sun. Mercury. And then vitriol. Thank God. Okay. The rooftop key. Yay. Okay. Oh, wait. Here we go. Pick it up. Thank you. We think this is from the director, since it's in his office. Their images became blurry, melting together. I could no longer tell. Not sure if I can do it, but maybe you can. This will take you where you need to be, though probably not the way you want to. And I didn't turn this over last time. And there's bound to be some pain involved. There always is. We will hear the second director's tape, and I went ahead and put this as a clip on my channel. And he will say, he's starting to say they cannot be cured. And he says she cannot be cured. Kind of admitting that his obsession is actually James's obsession with Mary. Their images became blurry, melting together. I think this is the director kind of realizing in some way. I don't know. I do think he is a projection of James's psyche. And I think the director himself is seeing that kind of blur together. And that these three patients aren't really what this is about. Not sure if I can do it, but maybe you can. He says in the final tape that maybe he hasn't learned anything from all of this suffering, but maybe James can learn. He says, I hope you do. That may be what that refers to. This will take you, he needs to be on the rooftop. And he may not like what happens there. Okay, so let's go back. And where are we? Okay, let's just go down this hall. And we need to see Maria. When I recorded this the first time, I flipped the fuck out. I did not know Maria would be gone. I had no idea. You can hear me gasp. I put this up as a clip. Yeah, I did. I was so rattled. I didn't know where I was going, what to do next. I was like, she's gone. Maria, sweetie, how are you doing? I've never gotten that before. She's gone. I've never gotten that before. I didn't ever think to check on her at this point. James, where are we? I'm not on the... okay. We need to be by the window to get to the stairs. I've never seen that before. I'm sorry, I'm reeling. She's gone. So what this means is that later we're going to run into Maria and James is going to be, he's going to think it's Mary. He's going to be like, Mary. Oh, okay. Well, it's you. Anyway, I'm glad you're alive. And Maria's going to flip the fuck out. Anyway, and that's why I used to say that. And I'd say, oh, you don't know why that's funny yet. Sorry. But at that point you go, okay, so actually what happened was James knew that Maria was missing. That Maria was out here somewhere. And he's like, anyway, it's not even like, well, I thought you were safe in that room. Big surprise, but okay. No, he knew she was out wandering around. You piece of shit. Okay. Okay. Where do we need to... I super need to make sure... Let's see if there's a photo I picked up or not. Because if I didn't get it, okay, I did. At least she was there. I was afraid I didn't pick it up on this save. Honey, where are we going? Okay, we're going the right direction. We're good. We got to get up to the 3rd floor again. I don't know who you are, where you're going. Just leave me alone. I've already killed you once. No, that's not you. Here we go. No, wait. Do I keep going that way? No, I don't. Okay, we're good. We're good. Rooftop. Rooftop. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Got a couple of things to grab. Now, I said with the rainy window that I think rain represents... Okay, we'll go around. That's fine. Rain represents guilt for James. I finally arrived at that idea. Okay, we don't want to go there. I'm going to go around a little bit. He is going to find some pages that I think relate to Mary. And he's manifested these pages because he feels guilty. Wait, are we going this way? No. he feels guilty, and it's also an exercise in empathy in thinking about how Mary must have felt. And that's why it's pouring rain up here. What do we got? We're not going there. Okay, do we go up here? I need all my glimpses of the past. Okay. James, where are they? Where is it? Okay. Here we go. So originally in the game, you run into Pyramid Head up here. And he throws James' ass right through the fence. We're not doing that. All right, but if you want that ammo and you want that glimpse of the past, you have to make sure that you get that before you go into this door down here. Because we're not coming back. Especially since that's the door we came up through. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Now we got this. Okay. Page from a diary. May 9th. Rain. Stared out the window all day. Peaceful here. Nothing to do. Still not allowed to go outside. May 10th. Still raining. Talked with the doctor a little. Would they have saved me if I didn't have a family to feed? I know I'm pathetic and weak. Not everyone can be strong. May 11th. Rain again. The meds made me feel sick today. If I'm only better when I'm drugged, then who am I anyway? May 12th. Rain as usual. I don't want to cause any more trouble for anyone, but I'm a bother either way. Can it really be such a sin to run instead of fight? Some people may say so. They don't have to live in my shoes. It may be selfish. That's what I want. It's too hard like this. It's just too hard. May 13th. The doctor came in today. He said that I'll be released soon, that it's time to go home. I should be happy, but I'm afraid. I'm so afraid. It feels like something's about to happen, like the last gasp of air before the plunge. But deep down, I know it's too late to turn back. First thing I want to point out, and I'm going to put the text on screen. Can it really be such a sin to run instead of fight? You may remember Angela saying in the scene with the knife, it's easier just to run. And she seems to be considering suicide. This is something we've already heard in the context of that phrase. So let's flip. Give you the text. A lot to talk about. And I don't want to just go on for too long. I don't think these pages were written by Mary. I think this is James imagining maybe what Mary's experience might have been like. And given that they were estranged, it feels like he wasn't thinking about what she was going through. He was only thinking about how she yelled at him and rejected him, and how he sort of descended into bitterness and resentment and anger and alcohol abuse. And he's now, as part of taking accountability for everything that's happened, he's going through some exercises in empathy. And when we get to a really harrowing sequence with Angela, that's kind of the ultimate exercise in empathy, and I'll talk about that then. The abstract daddy sequence. And you sit there and you get to May 10th, and it says, would they have saved me if I didn't have a family to feed? And that did kind of make me think, okay, that sounds a little, given that this hospital seems to date from the first half of the 20th century, that kind of has a breadwinner kind of sound to it. You would kind of think maybe we were talking about a man rather than a housewife. Could have been a working mother, we don't know. But that did strike me as a little odd if we were thinking this was Mary. And then I was reading on the fan wiki that that's not what it says in the original Japanese. The fan wiki says, quote, Jeremy Blaustein seems to have taken quite a liberty when translating the sentence, as the Japanese script reads, would they have saved me if there was no one who would grieve for me? And then in Mary's full letter, she says, I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. Mary's afraid that he wouldn't grieve her, doesn't actually love her or want her to come home. And I think that's what that line in the original Japanese is alluding to. Because as you may recall, Team Silent was Japanese, is Japanese. And so a lot of this was translated into English as sort of the primary language of the game because the characters are American and English speaking. But there were some translation issues now and then. I only want to talk about this briefly, but the meds made me feel sick today. I've written a lot about getting onto medication and how difficult it can be to adjust them, and it's kind of a roller coaster if you get on a new one, get off one, increase, decrease. I'm not going to lie to you, it can be rough. But I do try to advocate for people to not be afraid to try them, to take some of the stigma away from it, I guess. Because I've been taking medication for 20 years now, since the late 90s. And people are a lot more open today than they used to be, but people are still very afraid. And something I heard a lot was, what if they just turned me into an emotionless robot? And I think you can tell from listening to me for several hours now, they haven't done that to me. If I sometimes have kind of a dry, flat tone, that's the autism. That's just having a very dry affect. That's not medication doing that to me. And it can be tough, and some of mine make me feel sick. I take metformin for hereditary diabetes from my grandfather that's starting to show up. And they make me feel sick, and I have to take something else to balance that out. But you'll notice that's a physical ailment, and nobody has any problem with me doing. There's no stigma, really, to take something for a physical ailment. So, but when it's a mental ailment, suddenly they're not just scared of the actual side effects. They're afraid of side effects that aren't even, I don't know. It's hard for me to say this in absolutes because sometimes medication is not for everybody. It's really not. A specific medication may not be for you. Any medication may not be for you. I just try to advocate for people to not be so afraid of stigma, so afraid of, I don't really know how to put it. I just really try to show people this is what it's actually like. This is what it can be like when you're on a successful course of treatment. It can be successful. You can still be a full human being with a full range of emotions. This can work out. However, it does make a lot of sense that this patient, especially in the context of this older hospital, not having a great time. And this may also relate to the fact that actually Mary was taking cancer medication. I don't know if it was specifically a chemotherapy type medication, but that often makes people ill. And that may be one of the reasons James specifically put that detail in. Although it is also true for the anxiety medication she could have been taking. That can also make you nauseous. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like it was important in this hospital horror type setting to say some of this, yeah, some of it is true, and some of it is something people don't need to be quite so scared of. And I think for the most part, this game has handled a lot of this very, very sensitively. And you'll notice these diary entries are about some very deep depression and suicidal ideation, but it's so delicately expressed. It's so responsibly, delicately, sensitively expressed. It's about the emotion and not necessarily the imagery of what someone might do. I just really appreciate how they handled this. Rain, we have the guilt. And again, I think James is imagining this or projecting this because he feels guilty that he didn't have enough empathy for what Mary was going through. He was thinking too much about himself. I'm a bother either way. In the dialogue of the Maria ending, where James actually has to confront Mary, she says, "I know I was a burden." Let's see. Can it really be such a sin to run instead of fight? Sometimes it's easier just to run, Angela said. Maybe selfish, but that's what I want. It's hard like this. It's just too hard. Okay, May 13th. The doctor came in today. He said that I'll be released soon, that it's time to go home. In Mary's letter, full letter that James has in his pocket and only has a paragraph of, she writes, "The doctor came today, told me I could go home for a short stay. It's not that I'm getting better. It's just that this could be my last chance. I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. I don't know if you hate me or pity me. I'm afraid, James. I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home." And so this is very much the same sentiment. I should be happy, but I'm afraid. And the last gasp of air before the plunge. I mean, the stillness and in-water endings literally end with James going into the lake. It does involve a water plunge. But also the last gasp of air is a very telling, evocative phrase under the circumstances. I'll stop there, but there's a reason James would put these words on this page. But deep down, I know it's too late to turn back. Okay, so let's look around. Do we have anything here? All right. I think that is all I wanted to say about that, but let's see. This will take you where you need to go. Might not be how you wanted to. It'll probably involve some pain. It always does. Which is it always does. Maybe the director just means in life, but how many loops have we? It always involves pain when we throw your ass down into the other side of the building. I mean, it's interesting. Okay. I am getting so hoarse, and we still have things to talk about. I need to talk... Oh, good, there's an autosave. I need to talk about Laura. I need to talk about the fleshlet. I need to talk about the patients. Do we have a save point down here? Of course we fucking don't. Okay. We're so close to being done. I'm afraid I'm about to get interrupted, but let's see what we can do. I love Laura's little drawings. And like, there's the little Laura rabbit and the Mary rabbit, and they're sharing a little carrot, and it's the only family Laura has. And it's so sweet. I'm serious. It's so sweet. And then there's fucking James back there to ruin everything. And I think it is important to note that James just has no concept at this point that he could have done anything terrible like this. It's slowly kind of dawning on him that he's seeing all of these hints, but like, I've said this, I think at a different point, I feel like the best version of James is being made to pay for what the worst version of James did. And we don't ever see the worst version. We just have to, we do briefly, but much the way he can't imagine the worst version of himself, the one that develops during these 3 years of resentment and bitterness and drinking and this spiral that takes an amount of time. He hasn't been through it yet, this version of James that has been rolled back to the self that was kind and polite, gentle, adored Mary. She was his whole reason for living. He can't imagine the person he became. And I think his personality has been rolled back to this point because it's a personality that is uniquely capable of feeling guilt about this. I'm not sure the man he becomes, you could really punish him like this. It had to be the good version of James, the best version, to really feel how terrible all of this is. And it is interesting in light of Silent Hill F that Hinako has at least two kind of sides. And you can kind of look back to this game, and while James doesn't explicitly have two sides because that other side is one we don't see, I truly think he has two selves, his best self and his worst self. And they're on a continuum. They don't exist necessarily concurrently. He transitions from one to the other. But I do think that's why it's so important. I said in a different clip, I need you to like James. That's why I haven't told you specifically what we're talking about, because I need you to like the person we're seeing in front of us, who is very likable, very sweet, because it hits so hard when you find out what the worst version of James looks like, what he's done. That's what hurts so much if you like the best version. And that's what hurts the best version of James so much, to realize what he was capable of becoming and doing. Let's see. There's something else I wanted to tell you about. Okay, elevator that doesn't work. Can we look through here? No? I thought it said we could. I need to find you some padded rooms. I have some more information about the medical procedures, and I will either save those for the write-up, or I will read more of that when we get to each Otherworld section. Right now, I'm getting so hoarse. Okay. So here we find out that the director was keeping his 3 patients in these, like, fucking padded rooms. Like an asshole, son of a bitch. Arrest this man. God, I'm just sitting here shaking my head over and over. I think he is such a great literary device. I hate him so much. Just as a person, I hate him, but I love what they've done with him as a projection for James. Come on, sweetie, we got this. Okay, so a glimpse of the past. Originally, there was a 4-digit code here that you needed for something. And when I say turn, I mean T-E-R-N, like the bird. Turn, turn, turn the numbers. Better not forget them. So I'll write, right, not left. Write them down here. The other one, my secret name. I don't know if secret name was meant to be actually James. I don't know. Okay. So I have all of this stuff I still need to tell you. So these fucking padded rooms. I'm so angry for these patients. Hey, can I get out? Thank you. I've had so many just ordeals and tribulations to deal with that sometimes I look at those padded rooms and I'm like, y'all, I'm so tired. You could just lay down in one, you know? I'm a very resilient person. What can I say? Okay, I'm afraid to go in here in case that's going to set off a cutscene. See, for once, I'm going to think about this. Okay, I want you to look at this. So we're about to fight the flesh lip, right? It's got aspects of both a bed with this kind of grate kind of metal, but also a cage. It is reminiscent of Mary and her sickbed for James. It also evokes those cages that we saw. She felt caged, but also that we saw Pyramid Head hang people in. And we'll see more of that in the labyrinth a bit from here. But when I showed you all that in Blue Creek and I said, look at all of these crates for him to hang people in. Oh my God. In a real world sense, Masahiro Ito was inspired by Osamu Noguchi's statue Death, parentheses, lynched figure, and the 1976 photograph Man with No Legs by Joel Peter Witkin, which appeared in the film Jacob's Ladder. And I'm getting this information sourced from the fan wiki. Its mouth was inspired by the painting Second Version of Triptych 1944 by Francis Bacon. And when he returned for this remake, he redesigned the creature. And now this cage will have legs that come out, these sharp legs, kind of inspired by a spider. So they don't just kind of hang and go back and forth like they did in the original game. There were 3 of them. 2 or 3. They actually kind of stagger around on these spider legs. It's great. It's so great. You also see inside this cage kind of like a burlap sack full of whatever, flesh. You know, Mary feeling not like a body bag, not the way the lying figure looks like a body bag in a way. But it does feel like Mary just feeling like this creature, just with both the disease and what the medications did to her as side effects. There's a mouth, and I'll leave that for you to see. This is the first monster that shows up with a mouth. And when it has this stunning roar, it's meant to symbolize verbal abuse. And the stunning roars you'll see after this, I think the Mandarins also have it, that you'll see. It is meant to evoke James's memory of her screaming at him and rejecting him. I don't want any damn flowers. All of that. I think it's relevant. I think Blooper probably reverse engineered this from the flesh lip. But I did point out all of those posters in Heaven's Night full of like beautiful lips and, you know, legs and everything else. I do think it's, in retrospect, significant that we see the monster with the beautiful mouth after we've been to Heaven's Night. But this is the first time mouths show up. Like he's kind of remembering more stuff. Trying to think if there's anything else. I will say a lot of this monster design is also seen in the final boss. And people complained, oh, you were reusing the fleshlight design. And I was like, no, they're teaching you how to fight the final boss in having you fight it here. It has elements of various... They're teaching you. And I love that as somebody who never played a video game before this one. In my, mid to late 40s. I love that they helped me out like this by teaching me, here's a lying figure, but now they explode. Here's a nurse, but now it has a knife. And they kind of get you used to how something works, and then they step it up. They escalate it, they add something to it. You build on skills you've already learned. Because I wasn't born with a controller in my hand. I didn't play for 20 years since I was a child. I really appreciate that they've kind of done me a solid here. The other thing I wanted to mention before we get to the scene with Laura is that, I've mentioned that he's fairly good with her, fairly paternal. And yeah, when Mary comes up, he kind of flips out and he's not his best self. But for the most part, when he grabs her arm, it's going to be because he doesn't want her to run out into monster traffic, if you will. He's being protective. And he's like, Laura, you can't run around like this. She doesn't see monsters. She has no idea what he's talking about. But he's trying to be protective. The other thing is that the facial capture in this game is so good. Everyone has, some moment that completely blows them away. Motion capture, for me, it's in the opening scene where James is leaning over that railing. It couldn't possibly be true, talking about Mary. And you see his left leg kind of jiggle nervously. They didn't have to put that in. Not only did the actor Luke Roberts, not only did the actor think to do that, the motion capture people made sure it got in. And I really enjoyed Mars's playthrough. And the moment that just stopped her in her tracks was a little bit later. A close-up of James talking. And she could see that his teeth were crooked. And they were accurately captured and weren't just, perfect, generic, cartoonish teeth. It was like, no, this is what a real person's teeth look like. For Ian, it's coming up in this next scene where Laura says, it's important. And James is kind of considering this I don't know. And just silently considering this. And there's this little jaw movement where he's kind of And it's so subtle. It's so good. And that's what Ian pointed out. So let's see. I think... Oh my God. I need to reload my gun. I have this in my notes. Caps lock, bold. Reload your gun. Okay. So I've mentioned... Okay. All we got to do is do the flashlight now, so maybe I can get through this before there's too much interruption. If there's a garage door in the middle of this, I apologize. All right, here we go.
Laura?
How do you know my name?
Eddie told me.
That big, fat blabbermouth.
Laura, why do you keep running away from me? And how do you know about Mary?
I just do. What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No. I won't. Please, just... I need to know.
Mary's my friend. We met at the hospital last year.
Stop lying. Laura, I'm sorry.
Fine. Don't believe me. See if I care.
Hey!
Let go.
I'm sorry, Laura, but I can't let you just run around this place. You might get hurt.
Hurt by what?
Look, just stay with me, okay? This is no place for a kid.
Fine. But there's something I gotta get.
Laura,
It's important.
what is it?
A letter. for Mary.
What?
I hid it. In there.
Sure this is where you left it?
Honey.
It's in the back. Behind an old pipe.
Okay, wait here. Laura?
Haha!
Open the door, Laura.
Why should I? I'm a liar, right? Want me to open it?
She's such a little
Do
shit.
ya?
Laura, open this door right now.
Big dad energy.
It's the magic word.
Laura!
Nope, that's not it. I guess I won't open it.
Get out of here, you brat!
Less dad energy.
In your dreams, fart face.
Laura, please open the door. There's something in here.
Sure there is. A big lying fart face. See ya, fart face!
Laura! Laura!
Okay, honey, we're good at this. Make me proud. We can do this. Yeah. Okay, run up. There we go. Okay, here we go. Keep an eye on the space. Look for the dust. Oh, shit. Be patient. Oh, shit. Okay, we gotta get out of here. Honey? Oh, shit. I'm doing too good a job. It's way too fast. This shouldn't be happening that fast. Watch the dust on the ceiling. I don't even care that was the wrong gun. Oh my god. Okay, I'm so rattled. We're okay. Dodge, dodge. We gotta get out of here. Get your hands on the keys. Don't let yourself get boxed in. Where is it? Jesus! We got this, honey. You got this. Lock in. Come on, we got this. Shit. Okay, shit. Oh, are you still here? I don't normally shoot, but I'm okay with that. Get it! You got it. You got it. Make sure we're on the right gun. Reload. Come on, where are you? There! Jesus, who's behind me? Okay, no, honey, we got this. No. Get it. Lock in, let's go. Huh! Oh my god. Okay, no, and I'm not even picking anything up. Come on, James, run this way. You need more room. Come on, okay. Good work. Good hustle. Everybody gets showers. Yeah. There's the other fleshlight. Okay, so again, I need to rewatch Jacob's Ladder, but this is a very Jacob's Ladder type homage. We're looking at ceiling lights, so we're going down a hall as if we're on a gurney, but we're also seemingly going down, descending. As if to hell, we're going to the other world. And that's why there's that slight siren in the background.
James.
I'm so wrung out. That was some high octane commentary. Okay. I did a really good job there, honestly. Little messy, but I don't think I hit the desktop once. Okay, so I'm about to call it for the day. Nothing here. Is that grass? The fuck? Once we get to a save point, I'm going to call it. I'm so happy, y'all. I think we got through the entire thing. Okay. Patient number 3141, which is so much higher a number than 50. Ian thinks this is referring to James himself specifically standing here, or possibly to us, the player. Designation 298.9, room number blah. Initial symptoms, hyperfocus. Current diagnosis, they can be fixed. Recommendation, stop at nothing. Unlike all us ADHD people over here catching strays with the hyperfocus, like that's a big enough problem for a psychiatric hospital. Damn. But either we, the player, are hyper fixated on this game, which, fair, I've made it my entire personality for the last 10 months, or James is so obsessed with finding Mary. Recommendation, stop at nothing. There may be something to pick up around here. I didn't get to say it up there. The shoot the wrist strategy I picked up from gamers far better than I am, but it does help you get the flesh lip down on the ground so you can hit it with the pipe. The pipe is very effective in most boss fights, counterintuitively. And I usually try to use it as much as possible. Okay, I forgot to actually point out what's going on here the first time I recorded this. I want you to look what's back here. So number one, a fan, big fan. And I keep talking about cycles and repetition and how it indicates something that may be happening over and over, potentially looping. That bed with the IV stand. Not only could that refer to Mary, we're going to see Maria sitting in front of a bed like that a few hours from now. And the fact that Mary and Maria are both associated with that hospital bed is itself a cycle, a repeating event. But then us also playing the game multiple times and this happening. I thought it was so cool that they just tucked this back here. And I think Ian was saying he saw somebody make a diorama of this. I don't know if this is only in this game and that's where they made it from, or if it's also in the original. I'm really not sure. But let me run you real quick, because we're not going to encounter anything terrible, are we? We're going up in an elevator. I'm not going to show you that yet. Whoa, sorry, James. When I showed you the Louise puzzle, where I said there used to be a box here with 4 locks, we're going to get to the Otherworld, and we're going to see a box with 3 locks, and it is going to be the organizing principle of the Otherworld section. It's going to be this huge centerpiece, and we're going to have 3 sections of the hospital to go into, each one with a chain. Each one represents a different patient. That's what we're going to do next time when I come back. I hope it is sooner than it was this last time. God knows. We don't know what life's going to bring us. We don't know. But for now, I'm going to write all this up with some lovely screen caps. I am going to play Silent Hill F, and the moment I have any kind of footage that's stable on OBS, I'll throw something up of me learning to fight Kashimashi up on my channel. You can subscribe if you want to make sure you see that. I'm Clea Linda on Patreon, Tumblr, where these write-ups go up. Blue Sky, Dreamwit, if you need to find me. Ian is also doing Silent Hill F. He's going to talk about the music with that, not quite as extensively as we did with this one. I'm still trying to prioritize Silent Hill 2, but we're both going to be talking about Silent Hill F, and we're about to schedule sort of a podcast type wrap up, because he has finished his Silent Hill 2 playthrough. His channel is iDoherty451. And we're going to do kind of a podcast style wrap up where I ask him about, what was it like going through this whole experience? And then when I finish, someday, 10,000 years from now, he's going to turn around and ask me the same kind of thing. So right now we're kind of having I hope it's not halftime, but sort of a halftime check-in. How are we doing? We're both really hyped about Silent Hill F. We'll talk about that. And maybe we'll both upload that to our channels. I don't know who will get that. Maybe he will. But you'll see everything. The write-ups will be on Patreon, free. And Tumblr, it'll be great. Good time. I'll post clips from this on the channel as well, so you can watch shorter versions of it. Outtakes from the previous version I recorded. God, there was some good fighting in it, though. All right. I'm Horace. But I hope everybody has a great week, whatever week it is that this comes up in. Y'all have a good time.